Draft week is officially here, and we have you covered from all angles. Right, Logan?
Yeah, I got linebackers today. Right, Fred?
Yes, we do. I got 2 words for you, Jack and Campbell.
And I got a little something to say.
Plus, I chat with Jahan Dotson about his draft experience, and we discuss Curtis Samuel right now. Welcome on in, Julie Donaldson, Fred Smooooooot, Santana Moss, and Logan Paulsen. We have you covered for the draft, but first, let's get into what some of the guys are doing off of the field. And Benjamin St. Juice taking football to Canada.
St. Juice love the kids.
And Fred, you said Canada's taking over, huh?
Oh, and they taking over everything. Music, sports, it all. Oh, Canada.
We love our guy leading the way. It was all about fight night, and everybody was getting excited about this on the team.
Yeah, Tank hit the man in the liver. He hit him in the gut, ended the fight.
Both of the knees, man. That's unbelievable.
And James Smith Williams doing some good in the community, receiving the Champion of Justice Award that I so kindly just tossed to him.
Julie, what were you thinking? What were you thinking, Julie?
I was thinking I'm not Tom Brady for one thing, but he might have caught it. Look, his job is to break up passes, not to catch them. It was a great night, though. It is, though, draft week, which means we are talking about the draft all day long up until Thursday, and it's all about mock drafts. Here is Daniel Jeremiah's top 15 picks, which means Washington now is officially on the clock at 16. So if we take a look at this list, what stands out to you, Tana?
I think what jumps out to me is just seeing that Bijan Robinson can fall to New England Patriots. New England get those backs that can be like dual threats. They don't normally come in the first round. I understand he's a dynamic. He's probably one of the better guys in this first round that would be picked up.
I'm looking at Anthony Richardson to the Colts at number 4. I think it's a great fit, but when I look at it, I could see Seattle saying, let's jump to 4, trade some draft picks, and put him behind Geno Smith. Because the one thing we do know about Anthony Richardson, he needs a year.
But I'm going quarterback as well, Fred. And for me, it's the guy that's not on the list, Will Levis. And I think if he's out of this top 16, or he's out of the top 15, 16 here, I think it gives Washington some good trade value for teams looking up to get up one of those top 4 quarterbacks. So that's something I think is really interesting about this mock by Daniel Jeremiah.
Time for Mission Debrief presented by FedEx, where now meets next. Since we're officially on the clock, I'm going to be the commissioner for all intended purposes right now. Logan, you're up first with the number 16 overall pick, and you are selecting.
I'm actually going to trade back. Minnesota called me. They got on the phone. They said, we really want a quarterback in the future. Kirk Cousins lives on his last year of his deal. We want Will Levis. And I said, come up and get him. I'll give you the 3rd. And I'll let you move up for your 3rd and your 6th. I'm going to move back 7 spots. And the reason I feel really comfortable with that, Fred, is because it allows me to still select a player I have designated as a tier 2 from positions of value. I got Banks, Porter, Emmanuel Forbes. I got Wright, Jones, Harrison, and DeJuan Jones as tackles there. I can get one of those guys 7 spots later, and I feel really good about any one of those players at 23, and I get a 3rd and a 6th. So I feel very, very good about that.
Well, let's say 5 of those players there. Let's talk about the cornerbacks. You brought up Banks, you brought up Forbes.
Yep.
If you're right there at 23, which one of those guys is worth pulling the trigger at 23?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I know you like Forbes. I love Forbes too, but I just think the athletic profile for Banks at 23 is going to be too good to pass up. I think he is the best athlete at the position in the class. He's big, he's physical. You know I like my cornerbacks to tackle. He does that at a high level, Fred. So if I'm going cornerback there, I'm probably going Banks.
And what are you doing with that 3rd? And you ain't got to tell me which player, which position are you going with that extra 3rd round
pick? So
if
I go with Banks at 23, right, I'm going to trade back. In the 2nd round, I'm probably looking Matthew Bergeron at tackle at 47.
Yeah.
And then in that 3rd round, I'm looking for a linebacker or a center potentially, depending on who's available. So that's kind of my thought. Or even edge rusher. Keon White in some drafts falls in that 3rd round range. I think he fits the profile here at a very, very high level.
Yeah, Andre Carter II also.
Yeah, one of those types of guys. Yeah.
Look, we've heard Martin Mayhew say he finds more success oftentimes trading back, getting more picks, getting volume to address multiple needs, which you apparently just made a Martin Mayhew move right there. You did.
Well, I mean,
you got your GM hat on.
Yeah, so think about it. I get more opportunities. I don't want to overvalue my evaluation.
Yes.
I'm very confident in my evaluations, but hey, I might be wrong. I'm going to trust that if I get more opportunities to pick good football players, I'm going to hit on one of those guys. And that's what we did last year, and that's what Martin does.
It's the law of numbers.
The law of numbers, baby. That's exactly right. So I feel very good about that.
Logan is moving back. How about Santana? We want you to come on up here to the podium and bring in your pick, Santana Moss, on the clock.
With the 16th pick of the 2023 draft. It's crazy that he brought up that he's going to move back for this kid, but I'm going with Deonte Banks. I'm going with him at the 16th pick.
Okay.
Tell you why. One of the reasons why I'm not going to sit here and try to play this domino effect or these musical chairs and move back is because I believe that why have something now trying to get more and then end up with nothing? I ain't going to lose out on Banks. I'm going to get him right now while he's hot and ready. I think Banks is one of those dynamic cornerbacks that I definitely need on my squad. We understand in our division, you got CeeDee Lamb, you got now Cook that came over to the Cowboys, you got my man Brown over there with the Eagles, and Smith. All these guys are blazers and can put up big numbers. The DBs got to pick their game up. We only have one guy over here that I feel like can play all those guys. We need more multiple guys that can check some of these guys that they have. So I'm gonna go with Banks. I think he's a 4'3", 42-inch vertical. He's an athlete. He's a freak of nature. And why move back? Get him while he's hot.
Well,
16.
the only reason you move back, because you can get a guy in Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State that also runs a 4.3 40, that's 6'2", and a guy that intercepted the ball.
166 pounds.
I did want to say that.
Soaking wet.
166 pounds, but guess what? 8 interceptions. When he touches the ball, he turns into a wide receiver and scores touchdowns.
Right.
So what I would say, Tana, is if you tier those two guys the same, I don't need to take Banks. I can trade back, get a Porter, get an Emmanuel Forbes, maybe get an offensive lineman there, right? So I think, you can just maximize that value if those guys are all clustered together. Now, if you think Banks is that first tier kind of corner, you take him 100% there every day.
And I feel you on that because we talked about the kid that you talking about who's dynamic when he touches the ball at cornerback. And you're right, offensive lineman, we might say, hey, but I feel like that offensive lineman, we talking about top tier. I'm gonna bank on one of those guys. I can get him in the second round. You know what I mean? I have a high enough pick in the second round that I can get one of those guys in the second round. I think when you're going after these dynamic players, yes, you might say that these other guys are capable of doing some of the same thing that Banks can do, but what if Banks is my guy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's my guy who I'm sold on, so that's why.
And here's the thing. Well, I mean, that is Tana's pick. And as Coach Ron Rivera is always saying, you have to pick somebody that you know will work into your system as well. Tana's saying he works into the system. We know the secondary needs a little beefing up. You also, you hit a major point too, and this is what we hear the coach always talking about as well, is you have to look at the competition in your division and be able to scheme and plan for them. A DB adds to that. Fred, you're a DB, you're on the clock.
Tag, buddy.
Oh, dang. I'm excited for this. This is going to be
Smooooooot.
crazy. Trade back for Emmanuel Forbes and then trade out for Darnold.
No. See, that's the thing about the draft. I want to mislead everybody. I want to play Jedi mind tricks with you. With the 16th pick in the 2023 draft, the Washington Commanders put the car in reverse and we trade back. This is why I trade back. Me and Logan got to talking. It's not much separation from pick 10 to pick 40. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the phone with the Cincinnati Bengals, who just lost an offensive tackle, who needs a tight end, who's willing to move up in the draft. I'm going to take their 29th pick, and with the 29th pick, I'm picking somebody by the name of Darnell. I'm picking somebody, and that could be Darnell Wright, the tackle from Tennessee, who I feel like, to me, the more film I watch, he's the most put together, athletic, angry offensive lineman in this draft. That also allows me to get Cincinnati's either second round pick, a third round pick, or maybe both. And with those second round picks, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave this draft with two Darnells. Darnell Wright, Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia, just a monster. And I'm also gonna get with my original second round pick, Mr. Jack Campbell. So I'm gonna leave here with a starting middle linebacker, a starting freakish tight end, and a starting right tackle. Challenge me.
Dude, I love it. I just don't know if Darnell Wright's going to be there. I think Darnell Wright is he's in that conversation of top 3 offensive linemen. I think you might have to get him at 16, Fred. But if you weigh him the same as a guy like DeJuan Jones.
I was going to say, if I can't get Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones, a.k.a. Thanos, will be the guy that I try to grab. As you see, with my first pick, I'm trying to grab an offensive lineman because I feel like it's a big drop from the first group of offensive linemen. I do not feel like it's a big drop from the first group of cornerbacks. I can still get a lot of guys in the back.
With all that trade back, Tana, would you guys take a quarterback? Would you guys take a Hendon Hooker in the second round with that extra second round pick?
I will if it's one of those guys that I feel like will be a difference maker. If those guys that I feel like is difference makers, they're gone, then I'm not, I'm gonna bank on what I have.
Okay.
Honestly.
I'll take a shot.
But I feel like I'm gonna get one late anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like there's gonna be a few late anyway, so I won't have to get them in the second one.
Well, I feel like the late guys can't be a Hendon Hooker. I don't feel like they have his talent.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys, it's grandmama's cookie. Yeah. You got to be patient with him. He needs to heal. He needs to learn.
A bit older guy.
And he's 25 years old. And I think that's what's running a lot of people away from him. Well, I like my guys. I like a grown man to step into a room. So I think Hendon Hooker in the second wouldn't be bad. But the question I ask you, who do you transfer him for? Do you leave out Jack Campbell?
You know I love Jack Campbell.
I know you love Jack Campbell. So do you leave out Jack Campbell or do you leave out one of the Donnells?
Dude, I'm not as high on Darnell Washington as you are.
Yeah.
But I still think I love Smooooooot's draft. I love what he's doing there.
This can give you a little bit of insight to what goes on in the war room of everybody having their favorites, their own opinions, their own scouting reports, and then having to decide on one. And of course, a lot of it is reacting to what happens in front of you and looking behind you and seeing who would want to move up, who would they want to move up for, is that your guy, and then you make the move. So those are our picks. I'm actually making my pick on the app. It is called Predict the Pick. You can as well. So drop who you want Washington to pick at 16 in the chat, and make sure you play the game. If you get the pick correct, you could win an autographed jersey. Time now to go inside the numbers, presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Washington Commanders. So when it does come to the draft over the next few days, Washington has a total of 8 picks. They did pick up a pick in the 3rd round and the 6th round from Brandon Sheriff and Tim Settle leaving the team. And we want to talk a little bit about the draft and how this team is preparing for those 8 picks. Well, here is Logan with head coach Ron Rivera.
That's a conversation I think is really interesting. A coordinator to scout, but also a coach to scout. Can you talk about the differences in approach? Because like in my experience, scouts tend to be optimistic, about upside, and coaches tend to be a little bit more realistic. Can you talk, is there friction there, or do you find that here on the staff they align really well? Or?
I think they align really well because one thing, and I got to give credit to both the scouts and our coaches, is that they talk a lot. That's one of the things I encourage. Well, because again, if I don't know what you want,
right,
how am I going to come into you and say, hey, this guy's a great
That's not always how it is, though. You've been in places.
But you want that because you want to be able to collaborate. We're not the smartest people in the world because we don't know everybody's business.
Right.
Okay. I try to know as much as I can because that's what I do. I manage this. I have to understand offense, defense, special teams, but I also have to have a perspective from what are our scouts looking at? What are they grading? Okay, they're grading skill sets. Okay, what are coaches doing?
Yeah.
Well, they're grading skill set fits.
Right, yes.
Does this guy's fit us? They now have a sense and feel for what coaches are coaching and what they're looking for in their players.
You can find the full interview of Coach with Logan on our YouTube channel. It is right there waiting for you. And when it comes to making moves on draft day, Coach Rivera strategically went in last year, moving from 11 to 16 to get Jahan Dotson. Well, I had the chance to talk to Dotson about that move, how it impacted him last season, and what he's most looking forward to. Jahan, it's draft week. Very exciting. A lot different this time around for you compared to last year. You were preparing, probably with your family, wondering where you were going to land to begin your NFL career.
Yeah.
What's your mindset like now compared to last year?
Yeah, so last year you have no idea where you're going to be in a week or so. So I was very anxious, ready to just get somewhere and finally get a home and start my journey. But this time around, getting ready for year 2. It happened so fast too. It's crazy. It feels like it was just yesterday I was hearing my name called, but I'm super excited for this upcoming year and just trying to build on what I did from last year.
Speaking of your mindset, Washington selecting 16th this year, that's where you were drafted. They moved back to get you. And the fan base wasn't as familiar with your name because nobody had really tied you to this franchise. And even Coach Rivera is joking with the media saying that, there are some critiques about it. But that they wanted to keep you a secret. You were in the plans all along. Did any of that play into how you approached last year and what you wanted to prove?
A little bit, just because, the first round, early in the first round, there were a lot of receivers taken. So it was kind of almost like a slap in the face to me, just because I felt like I was the top guy in the draft last year. So, I was really hoping to go higher than what I was, but I was happy, of course, where I went. But, I felt like I had something to prove last year. Every time I stepped on the field, a lot of teams looked past me. So, every time I played against them, I was trying to make them remember me.
That given, how much did you kind of pay close attention to all the receivers drafted ahead of you?
I did. I paid very close attention.
Are there any conversations then that build off of that?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I trained with a bunch of the guys last year leading up to the draft. And then, you know, after the season, seeing those guys at rookie events, you know, we're always talking about it, going back and forth with stats and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
And Jahan is looking forward to putting up even more numbers in the upcoming season. And if you want to meet Jahan, well, you need to come on out to our draft party presented by SeatGeek, where you can meet Jahan as well as our first round draft pick. That is Saturday at the National Harbor from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It is free and a lot of fun activities for you to participate in. Now, for more on the prospects that Washington could be keeping an eye on this week, it is time for another edition of Paulsen's Prospects, brought to you by the Washington Times.
Fred, thanks so much for coming back for another Paulsen's Prospects segment. We're talking about something kind of fun today. We're talking about linebackers.
I love it.
Not totally in your wheelhouse, but on the defensive side of the football. And
It's in my wheelhouse, brother. Don't do that. It's in my wheelhouse.
We're going to start with maybe my favorite guy in the whole class.
Mine too.
Jack Campbell, man. His collar is as blue as it gets. He plays football hard-nosed. His instincts are off the charts. There's not a lot not to like about him.
No, here's the thing I love about him. Coach Rivera, when I look at him, I see Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
He's the same guy that he drafted. This guy can run faster than you think he is. He's bigger than you think he is. He's stronger than you think he is. And he's the type guy come back to the huddle, nose bleeding, and still call that play and tell me what I need to do.
He's like Luke Kuechly and Dick Butkus if they have
all
a baby,
together,
right?
if they have a kid.
He's an older school guy, but his instincts are off the chart. He defeats blocks well. He's physical. He's nasty. He's smart. I love him. The only question about him, Fred, is can he play athletically in this kind of new spaced out game, right? He's 6'5", 250 pounds. Don't see a lot of guys like that anymore. But I like to think those instincts will be the trump card.
Turn on the film and watch him go get people.
Absolutely. Yeah. The next guy is kind of the opposite, right? Yeah. This dude, Trenton Simpson, is an athletic freak.
He is. He
athletic.
came into Clemson as a safety.
Yes.
So they tell you his athletic prowess right there. He's a 4'4" guy.
Yeah.
Now the question with this guy, how physical is he?
Physical, and he's got the snap, he's got the pop, and I think that, you know, like it shows up enough, you say, I think he's got it. Yeah. To me, I don't know if he knows what's going on half the time, right?
Sometimes he second guesses himself, but he has the athletic ability to make up for it. So for him, it's like it's all there. The clay is there, the raw material is there, but can he identify and diagnose at a high enough level, especially in the NFL now with the play action pass, the RPO, the zone reads? Can he get that done, Fred? I don't know. I don't know. The run game is what you worry about with him, but the pass game is where he excels, and that's where he's going to be high on a lot of people.
And I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's where the position's going. It's not how you fit the run, it's how you cover the pass. So he's kind of the total inverse of Jack Campbell, right?
Yes, he
is. And then you get a guy our third guy, Drew Sanders, who is more of an edge rusher, kind of?
No. He's really, to me, whatever you need me to do, Coach. On third down, I watch him put his hand in the dirt and rush the passer. On first and second down, I watch him stand behind the line and go sideline to sideline. He's rangy, and because he's 6'4", 6'5".
He's 6'5",
people want to put him at defensive end. I think he's a legit 3-down linebacker. You think he gets lost in space a little bit?
I do think he gets lost in space a little bit. And the thing that gets me, Fred, is like when he goes to tackle, he's one of those guys that stops his feet and just kind of slides down the flagpole. Doesn't bring his feet, doesn't really hit the guy. That's because he was playing in line. He's not used to all that space. But you're right, the athletic prowess is there. He's an excellent blitzer, can beat a tackle in a one-on-one situation. So kind of a sneaky way to add a pass rusher to your roster.
But see, I think you look at him more as a tackler than a hitter. And when you say linebacker, you want everybody to be hitters. I just want you to get the guy on the ground, and that's what Drew Sanders does as a big level.
Yes. So that's the prospects, and now I think Tana's got some hot takes for us. Let's go check it out.
Well, let's see what you got, Tana.
All right, Tana, we are up with your takes, and we want to start off with a hot one going around the league. Texans have the second overall pick, and reports are saying they're going to pass on a QB, but don't you think they need one?
Yeah, they ludicrous if they don't get a quarterback. I think, honestly, every team that has a chance to get a franchise guy should go after that guy. If the Texans say they don't want one of those guys, which you have Richardson, you have Stroud, and you have none other than Young. So you pick one of those three. They should go after the quarterback, but I understand if they don't. They have 2 picks in the first 15. So if they feel like they can go out there and get someone else and then get that quarterback, then I'm not, it's not a bad decision.
Fred, is this hot takes or lukewarm takes?
It's kind of lukewarm.
Yeah,
you know,
it wasn't. Yeah.
Kind of indecisive. Then the other takes. You know, kind of lukewarm. I get it. 2 fire sticks down. 2 fire sticks down.
Looks like you got one that's cold and one
Fred,
that's hot. There you go.
We put ice on one of his fires.
Okay, how about this? Because this everybody's talking about Bijan Robinson and how dynamic he is a running back. We know Washington has a couple of running backs already that we're excited about, but should he fall to 16, you taking him?
I understand the part about picking the best guy in the draft. I think he's one of the most dynamic guys in the draft. We've been down that rodeo before. I've been on the team for 10 years here where we picked the best guy, but he didn't fit what we was doing. We have 2 capable running backs to go out there and do what we want them to do in this offense. We need to pick our needs, and I think our needs would be someone on the offensive line or someone in that secondary. If you have a guy in that area,
Passing.
Get that guy.
Passing.
That's fire. Give it
Fire?
to me.
You want to pass?
He's the devil. He's hot. All right, listen to me. I'm with. Oh, you won't be judged. No. Tanner is right.
Okay, all right.
Look, I mean, the new offensive coordinator is a running back himself,
Yep.
so it could totally change the game, but
Could be biased.
could be biased.
Some
Could be biased.
there.
It's definitely hot take. That would be for sure. Okay, we got to go to your JETS, and finally we can stop talking. Well, we'll never stop talking about Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah, we will.
but at least we know where he's going.
Well, you know what? The Jets got themselves their man. But how long?
Yeah.
How long will Aaron Rodgers want to be right now? Fred told me he was a diva. I believe so too. He's one of those guys. Fred knows because all cornerbacks are divas. But quarterbacks playing that role, I just didn't understand why Aaron Rodgers everywhere with where he wants to be right now. You're too old to be making these decisions on your own. You should be comfortable and say, hey, look, I've done enough one place. I shouldn't have to leave at this late in the game. He's doing that. New York is not one of those places where you want to be at. And I hope the best for him, you know?
What you think?
I think that's fire.
Oh, I think it's fire too. Also, you got to know who you're dealing with.
That's what I'm saying. The diva thing, I think that's right. I think he's near the end of his career. People need to understand that.
Moody diva.
I like that. I like the Tanner. I kind of called someone out. I like that, Tanner.
Yeah, I like that.
Here's my thing. A diva in New York City, you better be prepared for that fan base. That
Yes.
fan base, they will love you one day and they will absolutely tear you down the next. Does he have tough enough skin to take that? That's my thing.
I know
don't
he
think
has
does.
tough enough skin. I saw those.
He's
I
gonna
saw
fire back is what he's
I
gonna
saw
do.
the fan base turn
He's fire
on
back.
Vinny Testaverde, and that showed me right then and there, Tanner, shut your mouth.
Hey, New York, he's going to have to go to at least 3 darkness retreats per year.
Yeah,
If
no
he
doubt.
He's going to last in New
No
York.
doubt.
Okay, those are Tana's hot takes. Logan, you are up
Oh,
because
my God.
one of the things that we do in this show is we want you, the fan, to be able to ask the questions. And Logan is like our geeky guy, so we are taking your questions. And right off the bat here, Yo Guy Danny
Yep.
has a tough one for you.
Yep, Danny.
If we select a cornerback in the draft, could Jack Del Rio move Kendall Fuller to the slot?
I mean, I think he could do that. He's physically capable of doing that. He's a defensive coordinator, but I also think that it's really, really important that they just draft the best player available. If you have a high grade on somebody, whoever it is, Witherspoon, Gonzalez, whoever it is, make sure you draft that guy and then kind of work this stuff out later, right? Fuller to nickel, that's totally fine. But I also think you got guys like Butler out there that could be excellent nickel players. So
Well, he's already played multiple positions.
Yes.
Both, right? So it's a matter where he fits best.
fire, yeah.
Fire.
Turn it up.
Hey, no,
Word down the
fire,
house.
just like your shoes. I'm in your corner right there.
That's not fair. You're playing dirty.
Yeah, that's
Fred.
right.
I'm not. These shoes came up on the Mayflower. Hey, listen, I loved them.
Logan don't miss too often, man, so I'm going to give him 5.
Okay, Noah wants to know, should Washington select a quarterback in the draft? Many think maybe they do not, but if they did, what name would you want?
I think there's a lot of the guys that I want. Like, obviously, I want Bryce Young. But if I'm being realistic, I think you go saying a guy like later in the 5th, 6th round, Tanner McKee out of Stanford, got that big arm, got traits that project to development, right? Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA is a good athlete. Pretty strong arm, played a lot of football, a guy that you have a lot of faith in. So I think both those guys are guys you can kind of maybe target, say, if we want some quarterback depth, they fill a need.
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I'm gonna give you fire because, like I said, you never miss, man. You never miss. But I know we're not picking that guy.
Yeah,
so-
we're probably not going to pick quarterback.
Hey,
but
no, I'm gonna give him nothing.
Yeah.
Antarctica. He's not fired. At the end of the day, Herndon Hooker was the name that I was expecting for him to say. Herndon Hooker is the only guy that I want.
Well, it's Hendon Hooker, so I'm not going to say Herndon, but just so you know.
Herndon.
Yeah.
As long as you comply, you don't know anything,
Virginia.
right?
I'm sorry.
As my grandpa would say, call me however you want, just don't call me late to dinner.
That's all I'm saying.
Look, we obviously know if you're going to have a quarterback, you need to be able to protect them on the offensive line. So Richard wants to know, how far back can you move and still get an offensive tackle?
I feel like Richard's trying to give me a trick question here, right? Because if it's a top-tier offensive lineman, one of those first tier guys, you're not going to be able to get them at 16. They're going to be gone probably in the top 10, maybe top 15. Paris Johnson, Skoronski, those are my top tier guys. I think everybody else is a tier 2 player, tier 3 player. So at 16, I'm going to have to trade up to get a top guy, but I'm in that tier 2 at 16, so I'm probably going to end up trading back, honestly.
Fire! Because I'm all about trading back. Put that car in reverse. Sometimes you need to go backwards to go forward.
And we know that offensive line, they did address in free agency, but of course, you can never have too many of the guys that smell like bacon.
I love bacon.
Fred loves the guys. And one last one here.
Right?
Dave wants to know, middle linebacker, is there somebody that can really just beef up that position here on the team?
I think absolutely. I think there's a whole bunch of solid players. I say a whole bunch. There's probably like 3 or 4 guys that are coming day one and start. The guy that I love, that gets me excited when I turn on his tape, I can't stop watching his tape, is Jack Campbell. He's just a physical, old school son of a gun, big, tested better than you thought. So I love him. Probably a second-round player. I don't know if you want to mortgage that kind of draft cap on him, but I absolutely love Jack Campbell.
Tell him where you got that information from. Give your props. Give your source.
I'm not going to give you any kind of props. You just made fun of my shoes.
I'm not going to give you the fire on that.
Fight for
I
Fred.
respect for that, Fred.
I'm going to give Fred a fire.
Respect for that one, Fred. But that's okay. We are all about sharing information around here.
Give my
Look,
dog
if
Fred
you
a
have
fire.
questions for Logan, make sure you always put them in the comments. We'll be hitting them up each and every week. Now, if you want more draft coverage, we have it all for you Thursday night starting at 7 p.m. And then when we are on the clock, and then on Friday, 6 p.m. And when we are on the clock, make sure you tune into all of our streaming shows. These gents will be bringing their expertise to that. Talking about who's going to be on the field next season, well, Curtis Samuel got a new number, going from 10 to 4, the number he wore in college at Ohio State. So in honor of him switching to number 4, here are the top 4 plays from him last year.
Samuel gets an end-around call. Couple blockers, hits the 5, cuts back to the goal line. Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington! A nifty run from Samuel from 10 yards out.
3rd down and 5. As Wentz throws, Samuel, touchdown! Nice soft touch from Carson Wentz. Curtis Samuel able to make the catch, took a hard hit. The Commanders are on the board.
Play action Gibson, a quick toss towards Samuel, dives into the end zone! Touchdown! Touchdown Washington! The first touchdown in Washington Commanders history is a 3-yard pass from Carson Wentz to Curtis Samuel. Play action, pressure up the middle, slides to his left. Shucks one towards the center of the field. There are 3 Vikings there, and somehow that was caught in between 3 Vikings by Curtis Samuel at the 3-yard line, and he goes into the end zone.
Cameron Bynum was going to make the interception. He runs into the back judge, and Curtis Samuel comes up with it and has the awareness to get up and roll into the end zone.
Oh, that makes me cannot wait till the season to begin. He'll look good number 4. 10 looks clean. 4, I get it. Back to Ohio State. You ever change numbers?
No, I wish I could have. If I was in today's game, I probably would have worn number 1 and number 2.
Why 1?
Why is that?
Well, 1 I wore in high school.
Oh, okay.
2 I wore in college. Plus I wore 21 here that separates the 2.
Make you look even skinnier,
Yes,
right?
even skinnier. You would have wore the 6, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
I've been
I'm a
clean.
little superstitious, so it depends on how late, later
In
my
your
game.
career?
Yeah. But I probably went for it.
Now, would you have paid for it? Like, because to change your number, he had to apparently buy all the number 10 jerseys that were out
crazy.
there.
When you got it, you got it, though. You know?
If I'm getting the check I was getting, yeah. Pay that ticket.
Yeah, and then you hand them out at your football camp. You make it work.
There
you go, Logan.
Would I ever change my number?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I didn't care about my number. They were like, hey, we want you to be number 90 when I went to Chicago. I was like, great. I can play football in the NFL. Let's make it happen.
Bruin getting it done.
Not a big deal for
Yeah,
me.
he's the cheap guy.
Worked for you. It lasted. Look, hey, folks, that's it for the show. Tana, you need to just spin us on out of
There
here.
you go. That was a good one, man.
No!
That's what it's all about.
What are those?
Yeah, fool. Don't worry about it.
Oh, hey, before you go, make sure you like and subscribe our channel so you don't miss any content that we put out for you. And should you happen to miss last week's episode, it's right here.